So let me reveal who our thought leader will be, who will be presenting his opinion and views on warehousing market and logistics sector of India. Let me welcome the renowned personality, often referred to as the real estate Khazar, for his vision, extraordinary brilliance as a builder, and an untiring zest for excellence. Yes, it is Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani who will be shortly sharing with us his valuable views. While Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani joins us, let me give a brief introduction of our keynote speaker of the day. Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is the founder, chairman, and managing director of Hiranandani Communities. He is also the vice chairman, Naredco, and managing director, Hiranandani Group. He has also held several leadership and advisory senior positions in various industry bodies. Dr. Hiranandani, a heartiest welcome to you. Dr. Hiranandani, a very warm welcome to you. It's great to have you here with us when we are talking about Indian logistics and warehousing market. So what are the growth opportunities for this? You're the industry leader. Please share with us.
A very good afternoon to you. I'm so happy to join Realty Plus as always. And I'm glad that you are having this Warehousing Leadership Convergence 2022. I think what has happened is the whole system of opportunity which has sprung up in the last couple of years has been really tremendous, starting with the bringing about of GST, which actually removed a large number of detriments to organized warehousing and logistics suddenly came to play. For example, every city used to have octroi nakas where people would be lining up their trucks and transport vehicles in order to do it, and hence smaller warehouses used to be outside each city so that they would not have to pay octroi unless something happened. With the bringing about of GST, all that has changed. So we have seen a complete paradigm which has taken place in the warehousing logistics space. The second major thing which has caused this change is the creation of the national highway network. We are now adding on 35 kilometers of national highway per day. What does that mean? It means that the time taken for the purposes of traveling, of transport of materials, raw material, finished goods, distribution of e-commerce could be put into efficient, larger warehouses and logistics spaces, and you wouldn't have to travel the material till you actually wanted it. And the time taken to reach the destination would be extremely limited. So that's the second major thing which has happened. The third major thing which has really taken place is the fact that the growth of various markets have made a huge change. And international investments have come into this space because the warehousing is now very specialized. Earlier, you only would have to stack the materials. Now, with all the organized availability of intelligence, data centers, all the idea of storages, locating of the goods in the warehouses, all that is hugely automated. And that reduces the time for us to get the work thing. And centers of warehousing is also made another major change, which means that a lot of assembly operations can take place, a lot of other activities can take place. The next important point, which I think is important, is the hub and spoke model, which is now there. As e-commerce is going, there are centers of logistics spaces which are located at strategic places all over the country, but there are sub-centers in each city. And these sub-centers will now be making it available for us to get the goods to the home, goods to the final place of destination in the shortest period of time. And that is why delivery times could be as less as 3 to 4 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. And these would be available from sub-centers, which would be able to do these kind of things. So this is my first view on how I think the changes are taking place in the warehousing space and are likely to continue to do. One of the other things which I think is very important is the fact that our cost of transport of goods was probably amongst one of the highest in the world. So our total cost of logistics in India was as high as 14–15% of the cost of the entire goods. Now that has now moving together to reduce it down to 7 and 8%. I think this is extremely important to understand if we are to become competitive internally in India or externally to the other countries of the world. Because once this cost comes down, goods from any center in India could mean to travel overseas also, because we would have multimodal transports which would be available for the purposes of doing these warehousing. This and more has determined the fact that demand for good quality warehousing has definitely gone up, and all this is going to make a change. Look at the toll nakas. Earlier, every vehicle stopped at the toll nakas in order to make the payment. Today, with the e-passes which are now available to us, you just have to drive through the toll naka, and through the automated route, payments for all the tolls are being collected. This and more has definitely made a difference in the warehousing space, as well as the logistics and other requirements which are there. All in all, I look at it in a way that in the next couple of years, the total space requirement growth is more than 12–14% compounded per annum. And I believe an estimation has been taken up that the space requirement in India in terms of warehousing logistics space is likely to go up to 483 million square feet by the year 2026. And several cities are now participating in this growth story with larger capacities, starting with Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, and Pune. But I think other centers are also coming up very soon. But these are what have been flagged off at this particular point of time. So all in all, I think the multimodal transport, the logistics space, the warehousing, the e-commerce requirements, the hub and spoke model that we see over here, the changes which have taken place in terms of time taken for the purposes of goods to reach other locations, and of course, the digital and various artificial intelligence systems which have now been put a requirement have changed the entire gamut of warehousing, the gamut of logistics, and the future of this space in India. So I think these are my first initial mentions of what I believe is going to be a difference in terms of warehousing and logistics in the next couple of years. The story, of course, in China has been equally strong. And I think that China has given us a large number of examples to do so. China has been a good story that we have emulated that example. And with the network of transport, the network of road and other networks, I think will give us that example. So I think by and large, the China story is the most best one which we can copy and emulate as compared to other countries of the world, which have already developed models which are already there. But the China story has indicated how these changes have made China a very competitive country.
Dr. Hiranandani, thanks for that, very positive sentiments on warehousing. And in fact, last year we had seen that most of the PE investment happened after commercial in the warehousing segment, logistics and warehousing. Like commercial, are we going to see REITs also in this segment?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of the warehousing spaces which have been leased out by good structured companies with A-grade long-term rentals, yes. But there are a large number of spaces which are not really structured in that manner to give us long-term rentals. So I think that would be a challenge. And there is some difference in terms of warehousing space rentals and others, because the inertia to move, the inertia to move from a space is much more there in the case of commercial spaces than logistics and warehousing space. Because once you empty the warehouse, you can shift to any other warehouse and others. But of course, today, large amount of investment is done in terms of getting the warehouses automated, and a large amount of investments may be put by many people for the purpose. In those cases, I think and having long-term, structured tenancies or leases, I think those would definitely be attributable to a REIT, but not all types of warehouse.
That's right. And in any case, warehousing segment is still new, is still a new asset class, and there's still a long way to go. Probably after a few years, we might see, as you mentioned, in some segments, we might see REITs also coming in. You also spoke about China, one example that India can look at, and, with growing, in decreasing transport costs, infrastructure connectivity, like you mentioned. Do you see India has the potential to be the global destination for e-commerce?
It already is a part of the destination, but you have to understand two things. Number one, the demographics become important. So with the China population maybe now again wanting to grow, we have to see the demographic dividends of the country. With the demographic dividends that we have, certainly e-commerce is definitely going to grow, and I do see that as part of it. Also, I do feel that over a period of time, government will come up with a much more favorable logistic policy, which needs to be put on the ground, similarly to as what has been the benefits given to those who are doing manufacturing under the PLI scheme and other schemes to be there. I think a similar type of policy in logistics would certainly encourage more investments to come into this space, and certain benefits which would be accrued to them would be able to take up into much more competitive space and much more beneficial interest to the industry and naturally to the country in terms of more efficient transport systems to take place.
That's right. That's right. So we have a lot of, the leaders from logistics and warehousing companies who are here today. Word of advice for them?
I think the opportunity is large, and I think the growth story is wonderful. But I think strategically, we really need to look at it and see, make a market study as to where the opportunities are likely to grow. I think there are many and plenty of them, as we have seen. The growth story is through the country. However, certain places will obviously have a bigger opportunity in terms of the volume of business that takes place, and also the interest of various other people who occupy our space. So it's not only what we want us to do and what we think of what the market is, but more about what our clients and customers would desire. So for example, if you look at it in the industrial spaces, warehousings that are being done and others, there's so many companies now where they would provide goods in the warehousing space where they would like you to manage the entire warehouse completely in terms of management of the goods, rather than they themselves take the warehouses on rent. So all this and more is likely to be created in the next couple of years, where warehousing, logistics, and services business would become a larger portion of the total business, not just use warehousing in terms of rentals, in terms of what you give to the clients and customers. It would be a package service. And I think that growth story is happening, but likely to grow in the next couple of years exponentially.
That's fantastic. So what Dr. Hiranandani is saying, listen to the client's requirements, create models, customized models for catering to the clients, like Dr. Hiranandani mentioned some of the examples. So thanks, Dr. Hiranandani, for giving that very interesting perspective on real estate industry, the warehousing segment, what can be done, what more the government can do, and what the sector can, look forward to in the coming years. So thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your time and your valuable views with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani.